Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Rangers Journal podcast. I'm your host, Scott Mackay, and I'm delighted to be joined by two guests tonight, people that I've known for years and years and years. They're from my area. One of the idea of this tonight is we're going to get in a panel. We're going to speak about Rangers summer signings. It's kind of like a hit or miss idea. It's going to generate some debate. I see who's going to talk nonsense and who's not. See who's going to wind two up, basically. Bob, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Looking forward to the discussion this evening. I think there'll be a few interesting points made between the three of us. So, looking forward to it.
Aye, definitely. And the man with the idea, Stu, how you getting on, mate?
Rippling, mate. Not bad. Bit rough. I was out with you last night, so struggling a bit today, but off for a good debate.
Aye, definitely. Right, so we'll just get right into it. So probably the best way to work it is we'll all say whether we think the signings are a hit and a miss, and then we'll come back around the panel and kind of try and justify it a wee bit. So first one I've got is Danilo. I'm going to go for a hit. Bob, what about you?
I would say hit based on what we've seen. Hit.
Stu?
Miss.
Miss,
now,
why?
Just purely based on availability. Like, it was a big outlay, it was a big signing. It was probably the marquee signing out the summer. And it might turn into a hit, but as things stand for me at the moment, it's a miss, just based on availability. He's not played enough games, he's not contributed enough goals. Sima, who's played probably the same chunk of the season, has been a joint top goal scorer for how long? Until obviously Tav's been away with it and Dessers has kicked on, but for a long time it was Sima, and I don't think Danilo's contributed enough in terms of goals, assists or appearances. Might change, but as things stand, absolute miss at the moment.
I've got to disagree with you. It's not his fault. A St Johnstone player broke his cheekbone and then he got his knee mangled at Hampton Hearts.
Well, he came back after the cheekbone thing and the injury, but it's not his fault either. I'm not saying it's his fault, but just a miss based on numbers, and that big number is the signing fee as well.
Bob, you want to come in on top?
I can see where Stuart's coming from. I think I'm saying hit based on what we've seen of him. I can understand with the fee that we've laid out for him and the fact he's had a couple of unfortunate injuries. He's not been available for the season. I can see why Stu, you're saying it's a miss, but I think I may be looking at it more from a potential point of view that when he was in and when he was fit, he was essentially first choice striker. So for me, it's a hit based on what we've seen and the goals that he scored for us. Again, I know that's not a lot, but they've still been crucial. I mean, probably the most crucial one was the header last minute against Hearts. Probably, I think it was Clement's second game that's kind of kept us in the title race. And if he had been fit, again, this is all I've put some maybes, but if he had been fit, we may not be sitting where we're sitting at the moment in second. We may have stayed in the lead and maybe increased that gap. But yeah, based on what we've seen so far, I've got to say hit, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him in the last couple of games of the season. Hopefully he comes back in a better form post injury.
How it's like being Danilo's agent though? Is it good?
It's the signing on fee wasn't too bad, so it's.
Stu actually brings up a good point, because look at the amount of part Dessers gets, especially off me. I don't think I've very seldomly I've praised the big man, and he was $1 million cheaper. According to Transfer Market, Danilo was €6.3 million and Dessers was 5. So you can do the conversion you're selling. You're probably looking at about 5.5 for Danilo and 4.5 for Dessers, around about that figure. As an interesting one, I just like him because he's Brazilian. I just like his name. I like everything about him. I think he's class.
Do you like a Brazilian?
Come on, you behave yourself.
Sorry.
I didn't think it was that type of podcast, lads. I didn't think it was that type of podcast.
Apologies.
I get flashbacks. I get flashbacks. Walter get asked that if I asked him.
Right.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Cheers for outing me as a pure patter stealer. Thanks for that.
Man. Right, Cyril Dessers. Miss from me. Bob.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say hit. I think being the fact he's been our only available striker for the best part of the season, the fact he's got 20 goals, we've needed someone like that for longer than either of us would care to mention. But yeah, I know you give it to him stinking pretty much every pod, Scott. But and I get on the outlay he probably should have had more goals, but again, based on what we've seen to this point, the fact that he's got 20 goals again at the weekend, they were crucial. All right, first was our own goal, but that second one gave us a win, gave us the 3 points, keeps us in the race for the remainder of the season. The 4 games that we've got left in the league. Aye, I've got to say hit.
I've got to agree with Bob. I think it's a hit, and don't get us wrong, I get the frustrations. There's been times I've been sitting there cussing him for not taking a chance, wasting chances. He could have how many hat tricks in how many games, but the goals he has scored have been crucial for us. To the point I made about Danilo's unavailability, Dessers has been available all the time. He never misses a game. He's never injured. He's just always available. He's always there. He's dependable. In terms of availability, he is frustrating because I think the goals he could have scored, but he's got to be in a hit. He's contributed. What I would say though, Bob mentioned his 20 goals. I don't know, maybe it's just a thing where Rangers are now. I remember when 20 goals was a target for the league, not in all competitions, whereas maybe that's kind of where we are now. We're showing about 20 goals across the board. But I do think he's a hit. At 1 point, goals per minute, I think it's a couple of times throughout this season he's been Scottish Premier League's top scorer in that in terms of numbers. A couple of times he's had that accolade. So frustrating as he is, I would say you've got to say he's a hit.
For me, it's a smiling when he misses a chance. It's like a leadership he provides you up front. The chances he misses, the outlay again for him. It's not Danilo's fault what's happened to him this season. I think it's just been 2 really unlucky injuries Danilo's had. It's not as if he's like a Seema who's got a proven track record of injuries, who's a fast player who picks up typically kind of fast-paced injuries. So that's where I would defend Danilo. In terms of Dessers, he's just too... See if he comes in a free contract, I've no complaints about him. It's the fact that he's outlay and it's the quality it's on offer. The fact that he started the season, he wasn't running the line, he wasn't taking defenders, he wasn't holding the ball up, he wasn't doing nothing.
At the same time, though, you sign a striker to score goals, and that's what he's done.
Yeah.
Aye, I know.
Scotty, can I come back in there just from what you were saying? And again, I think it's difficult in the sense that, in the summer we had a major rebuild in sense that in the attacking positions because we lost Kent, we lost those numbers, even though it could be argued that Kent never really gave us the numbers in the first place, especially in the last season or so. Right. But the fact that when we started the season, Dessers was still unfit, Danilo was unfit. It was very late in the transfer window that we managed to acquire them and bring them in. I would like, again, it's difficult to say. I would maybe give them another season to say, right, give them a full pre-season, make sure they're both fully fit, and firing all cylinders as of August this year for 24-25, and maybe have a better judgment of them next season. Again, pending availability, injuries, and all that type of stuff. But I think that's part of the difficulty when you look at Dessers and Danilo, that they came in so late in the transfer window. Neither of them was fully fit now. I understand that Danilo was maybe further along than Dessers because I think he was carrying an injury at Cremonese when we signed him. But the fact is he's I would say it's difficult to argue that he's not improved. He's probably
He's
too
definitely
nice.
improved.
You know, he's definitely improved from the start of the season. He's maybe more adjusted to the league now than he was when he came in, because obviously again it's a new league. You know, the British League we've talked about probably in other podcasts, and we've probably spoke about it in the WhatsApp chat, that you know the British leagues are far more physical. You get far less time in the ball, and he's had to make that adjustment. And to his credit, he's done it. I mean, and I take Stuart's point on board a bit. You know, in previous seasons, you would have looked at 20 goals in the league as a target rather than 20 goals across the board. But I think where we are at the moment, you can't argue with that number. You know, to get 20 goals as a striker at Rangers, I know you can.
And argue it's a 60 game season for Rangers club.
Yeah. But again, that's the difficulty of the argument is that, all right, well, if you got a 60 game season, you scored in a third of the games, which probably
it's decent as well.
If Shanklin's in a Rangers start, he scored 40 odd goals, but no, 100%. But there's this old myth, right? There's this old myth that Rangers strikers get more chances to score, and this is where I'm going to defend Dessers a wee bit. I brought this back up for the last pod, and this is his areas, his shots on target, and he's only had 3 pops at goal. Do you know what I mean? So how many chances are we actually making per match for a big man? What's the service like? Is it the right type of service we're getting on? Some you could do a full pod on. But for me, it just kind of brings the context of, as a striker now, you need to be able to help make chances for yourself, which is what I mean about running the channels and moving defenders about. I mean, that's something you always got off Alfie. He always moved defenders about. You always knew you were going to get a hard game off Alfredo Morelos if you're a centre-back. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, though, you talk about that. Dessers has scored 20 goals in all competitions in his first season for Rangers. Alfredo Morelos didn't do that right off the bat. It took him a bit of sticking time to get to that. Whereas Dessers has done that first season right off the bat. So he's a hit.
And your eyes, I still miss on mine. Right, Sam Lammers. Bob.
Oh, Jesus, God, man.
No. In a Rangers top, Sam Lammers is a miss. For me, he's a miss.
It's the signing we're looking at. It's the signing. Is it a hit or
Aye, miss for me at the moment.
Absolute miss.
Miss. I think he's a hit.
You must be the only person living and working in Scotland that Sam Lammers has had in his back pocket, mate.
Do you want to know why I think he's a hit? But because he's scoring goals at Utrecht, and typically a striker that's he scored 9. I think he scored 9 in like 15 games, and he's had 3 assists. So typically a striker in Holland that has 12 goal contributions across 15 matches, that's like a 10-15 million pound striker. Easy. How
does that help Rangers at the moment, though? That does nothing for us this season in terms of performance, goals, points, nothing.
Because we're going to get more money back plus more in the summer.
You hope.
I think you get 5 million easily for Lammers in the summer.
Probably. It doesn't help us in the league, though.
So therefore,
or win any silverware.
Because it's a hit for a signing, because then you've brought a guy in who was supposed to be a main starter, but he's ended up on a half his performances in the back of a decent loan move for once. Rangers are going to get their money.
Aye, all right, okay. So as a business, all right, fair enough. You might.
In that aspect, it's a good signing, mate. He's Hotham. I don't want him back in the Rangers jersey ever again.
We're talking about performances, goals, assists, points on the board, like a goal difference to make up. He's contributed 0, and he's kept other people out of the team. We've given him chance after chance, where we in the early part of the season where we wanted to be accruing points and gliding and stuff like that, and he's not done it, man. He's been an absolute flop in a Rangers jersey. You might be right. It might come good, might get as a transfer fee, set records over in the Dutch league, which is the only league he actually performs in. But for Rangers in a Rangers shirt, he's an absolute miss, mate.
Bob, you want to come in on ending on him?
I can't disagree with what Stu said. I think it's also difficult that he was the main signing of the Beale era. You know, the fact that Beale made such a big, hype about him, saying he went over and he spoke to him, face to face.
Looked him in the eyes.
Looked him exactly, looked him in the eyes, and he knew that he was a man to take Rangers forward, and yet when he came, never played. Now, again, the argument there is, see if he'd been played as a number 9, we could be having a completely different conversation here. But
it's
he was never played.
Because see, one of the games he played as a number 9, he skint Joe Hart and hit a ball wide at Ibrox. That's probably the 2 arguments. The 2 points I've got is I was fortunate to go at the Newcastle game, and that was before we got Danilo and before we got Dessers, and he played as a 9. And I thought he looked really good. He looked really mobile against Newcastle. And I understand it's a friendly in pre-season, right? You can't judge the whole season off of that one game. But from that moment on, he never played number 9 again for Rangers. Again,
that game was also a game we didn't win either, though.
Well, I know. But again, he scored in that. He obviously scored in that friendly. But I take your point in the crucial game against Celtic. He came on, played number 9, or played up top, and missed a sitter. Which strikers can happen. It can happen to strikers, but it's such a crucial game. And it was only 1-0.
Dessers also missed a set-up Parkhead. I just want to put that in there.
And
he could have won his old firm match at Ibrox as well. That chance that he had in the last minute that he put wide.
He also had a goal chopped off, which he didn't deserve. Still a hit.
Right, Jose Cifuentes. This is going to be a quick one. Miss, Bob.
Aye.
Miss.
Very cool. Let's not.
And you know what? I'm glad. I'm also glad that he's missing right now because he's terrible. Absolutely.
He's not even getting a game out in Brazil. I think he only made his first appearance the other night. Right. The man of the hour, Dujon Bassey. Love this guy. Hit. Bob.
Hit. It's got to be a hit.
What a guy, man, Stu.
Absolute hit.
Aye. Let's just get Sterling some pod. It's just, I love getting Sterling a wee bit of love. So, man can play anywhere. I want to see him in midfield for his long-term future at Rangers. I think he's got athleticism. He's got tackling ability. And I wanted Lundstrom dropped for 2 weeks now, 3 weeks. I think he should come in and replace Lundstrom for remaining games. Anybody want to chime in?
I don't know if I'd let him replace Lundstrom. I don't know if it's him in that role. I mean, I trust him so much, I'd let him watch my kids, right? But you know what? He's gold, man. He performs everywhere. And I watched an interview with him, and he was getting asked about playing in different positions. Is it a frustration for him? How does he feel about it? And his words were, you know, I grew up at Chelsea. If you're playing at Chelsea, you can play in every position. You're a professional. And I think that kind of, it's him down to a T, man. He's just does his job. He knows the scope for what he's doing before he comes on the pitch, and he does it well. And he very rarely lets us down. So absolute hit, man. You can watch my kids anytime.
Bob, you want to give him any comments?
I can't argue. I think, as we said, he's an absolute hit. I think going forward, if we do lose Lundstrom in the summer, Sterling should be able to slot right in that DM slot right beside Diomande. He's got the athleticism and he's got the bite that we need. When he has played centre mid or centre DM, he's not looked at a place. The fact that Clement came in and said, I don't understand why he's not been playing, considering Clement now sees him as one of his probably better players, if not one of his best players, goes to show the impact he's had, especially since Clement's come in. The fact that he couldn't let a game under Beale is madness. He played left back a couple of times and just looked a wee bit out of sorts, but I think because he's had a run of games, he's been injury free for the most part. It's allowed him to settle. It's allowed, he's come in and barring any other injuries, he probably would have played up front by now if Dessers had got injured. So again, I wouldn't have had any problems with that. I think he could have done a job up front.
100%, aye. I've had 20 quid on him. It's scoring Rangers to win on Sunday. We got £140 back. Right, Kieran Dowell. Miss for me.
Miss. It's got to be a miss for me.
Miss
for me.
Danny,
this
you
is
guys
why it annoys me. It's a kind of, it's a basic rule. Like, see if there's play the whistle is a basic rule. Another one is you don't sign injured players. Like, not playing for his own team. Sorry.
Take his injury record away a minute. do you think he's a good squad player? If he's fit, do you rate him as a player, Stu?
See, at the start, I kind of thought maybe, but I'm a big one for availability, man.
Right.
If you're not available, you can't be a good player for Rangers. You can't contribute. And he's not been available, so it's a miss. I know he scored a couple of screamers or something. Like, I remember thinking, wow, maybe we've got something here, and Cantwell talked him up. See the fact that Cantwell talked him up, got him a signing because he played with him at Norwich. It shouldn't be. They probably shouldn't have signed him at all. So he's a miss for me. I don't know why he got on the game that Southgate was up watching, just because he's an English player or something like that. I don't know if that was why, but for me, that's what it felt like. Because it was a pure cheap appearance, and then we've not really seen him again since. Nah, absolute miss. Waste of a signing, waste of a wage.
Bob, Dowell.
Aye, yeah, same as Stu. I think the fact that he was technically a first signing a Beale, start of last year or start of the year. You thought, oh, if he gets, he's a good technical player. He seemed decent. He's always seemed decent at Norwich when he's been fit and available. Maybe a good relationship with Cantwell. We thought that might have come to fruition, but again, lack of availability. It's so difficult not to, for me anyway, to look at the Celtic game, and we just scored, the equaliser, and they go up and score, and he doesn't track the man, and they go 3-2 up, and that to me was killer. Again, you said it's that whole, it doesn't matter if you've not played for ages, do your job. You've got to see whenever you're on the park, whether you're on 90 minutes or 60 minutes or 30 minutes, you've got to be running your plan in for those 30 minutes, because nobody's going to give us anything. Right. For me, just go ahead, mate. Sorry, go.
What I would say about Dowell is I like the idea of him. I like the idea of a big, tall, athletic, left-footed player in the centre of the park, but he's not the guy. He's not the man.
I'm big, tall, athletic, and I can't get you for Rangers. And I'm not being funny. Kieran Dowell has only played a few more minutes for Rangers than I have this season. Not available. Right. He's a miss.
Right, Super Jack Butland. Hit. Bob.
Super hit.
Absolute hit.
Does he go to Euros in the summer, Bob?
If it doesn't, it's a travesty. And again, I mean, that sounds like big words, but even when he was getting talked about for the call-ups for the friendlies recently, and you've seen the stats, I think we were talking about it in the WhatsApp chat. He's played more than any other English keeper at the moment. He's got a better save rate. He's got a better, better overall record this season than all of them combined. And yet, it's maybe just a snobbery thing where it's only Scottish League. He should be doing that because the Scottish League's poor, and you're going, aye, but he's played practically every minute of every game.
Aye.
He's kept us within 3 points of a title. And potentially he could win a treble this season in his first year. Again, it goes to show how highly he's regarded within the squad as well. The fact that he won not only the Men's Player of the Year but the Players' Player of the Year. To me, that speaks volumes. And again, I understand people would argue and go, well, that just goes to show how poor a season we've had as a team because the keepers getting Player of the Year. But he's come in a free. He couldn't do any more than what he's done in keeping us in games. He's helped us win a cup already, and he's kept us as close as we probably can be in a title race for the first time in a long time.
See if he starts for like Crystal Palace or Wolves or something, he's in that England squad for me. Stu, what you go say?
No, I agree with both of you 100%. I think the only thing that's kept him out the national team is the fact where he's playing his trade is Scottish Premiership. He's been immense. It's more than that as well, though. See the fact where we've had a bad result, he's doing like the captain's job, kind of talking to the fans and stuff like that, apologising, saying we know he's better. He fronts a lot of stuff up, not just the good stuff, but he's even stuff not going well. He fronts it up and addresses his head on where our captain's missing for all that stuff. He's out facing the fans and stuff like that. He's more. He's beyond a good player for this squad, man. He's immense. He's a great presence. He's a great guy to have in the team. He's very much kind of old school Rangers standards, I think, and it'll be a massive loss if we don't keep him, and we'll be doing well to keep him, I think. So he's a hit.
Aye, definitely, mate. Definitely. Right, Leo and Balogun. I think this is a fairly straightforward one. I think he's a hit. Bob?
I'd say hit. I would say hit.
Just for a roll.
Should never have left. Should never have left.
Do you give him another year, Stu?
I'd see. Remember the old school David Weir contract they had? See, as long as he was fit, he would get a rolling year on year.
Aye.
I'd do it with him.
Bob, what about you?
Aye, same. I think again, it just goes to show that his presence has been missed since the Old Firm game in December. I think understand, Suter and Goldson were your kind of preferred lineup when he was injured, but even aside from the St Mirren game at the weekend, the last couple of games he's played, he's probably the best. I'm going to make a point here and say he's probably the best defender that we've got in the squad. As in, he take he'll take everything out of the game. He'll just in the Hearts semi-final, he bossed it at the back. For me, he bossed it at the back. I think it was a tough game, but again, your favourite non-Rangers player at the moment, Shankland, he barely gave him a sniff the whole game. Which to me, again, you're going, he's kept the top scorer in the league quiet for 90 minutes. He had nothing on him. Understand granted did a wee mistake at the weekend, but again, he's come through the last few games, full 90, and I would like to see him remain in the starting lineup for the rest of the season. Whether Goldson gets bagging or he swaps with Suter, he's got to be. For me, if he's fit, he stays in the starting 11.
Aye, definitely. I think we're going to have a lot of upheaval in the summer too, so I think a wee bit of continuity. You look at the leadership we've lost in terms of Arfield, McGregor, Davis.
And I get that, Scott, and I think, as Stu said and as you said, he should have never left. He was one of the players that he came in as a complete unknown for that 55 season, and he bossed that whole season with Goldson. Probably circumstances dictated he had to go because Gio didn't fancy him, but he knows what it means to lift the title because he's been here and he's done it, and he lifted the Scottish Cup before he left. And I'm glad he's again one of the few players that have completed that treble of winning the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, and the league. But for me, he gets it. As much as he's not a homegrown player, he gets it, and as you said, he should be part of the leadership group if he's not already.
100% right. Fabio Silva. Don't even want to say this guy's name. I think he's an absolute disgrace in a Rangers top, if I'm being brutally honest with that diving part. Miss for me, Bob. Miss. Stu.
Despite the fact he's an amazing actor, I'll say he's a miss. My God, man. That guy could have got an Oscar quicker than DiCaprio, man. I swear to God. That's an absolute ready. And see, we talked about something else, like somebody who gets the club and the Rangers standards and stuff like that. See, when I see what he's doing, man, I'm like, get that top off your shoulders right now, man. It's an embarrassment. Don't know how he's got that transfer fee. God knows how much of a wage we are paying for him, but he's not a Rangers player for me.
It was a cup semi-final. See that chance? I'm adamant that's a dive. I am adamant, absolutely adamant. He thinks there's somebody near him and he's been done because he doesn't trip his feet up. He doesn't. There's like nothing in the run that signifies to me that that's a fall. Do you know what I mean? He just misses or muddles his feet up or something. That's a dive to me.
And you know what? We don't really need much encouragement or need to invite kind of bad criticisms off some of the pundits that go around in Scotland. You know what I mean? Without him going this neon sign, look what I'm doing, making it up. Anyway, I'm not going to say it, but he's a miss.
Right. Okay. Right. Abdallah Sima. Hit. Bob. What about you?
I'm going to say hit.
I thought Bob was going to say miss there with the pause. No. I was like, what? No, hit. Absolute hit.
Stu, did you sign him this summer?
I think that'll be the second point. I don't think we'll be able to afford to. I think would the Brighton get him for 8 million? So I think Brighton will not want to lose money on him. And I mean, the most expensive player we've signed since Tory Andrew Flo was Brian Kent for 7.
Aye.
So I don't see it happening, regrettably, but I would like to.
Bob, what about you? Do you sign him this summer?
I would. I think, as we kind of touched on there, I think there's going to be a lot of upheaval in the summer. I think there's going to be a lot of players out of contract, a lot of money coming back in. Due to the drop in wages for some of these players, like Kemar Roof and Jack and Barisic, potentially Lundstrom, all that type of stuff. But for me, if we can sign him, then I would want to. I think if we can, again, it's all about navigating the transfer market. I think if we can negotiate a deal with Brighton, if it's a cut price deal, if it's 6-7 million with a 20% sell-on clause, I think it's a no-brainer. I think the difficult thing, and I know you've touched on it in another pod, Scott, it's that availability again. If he's kind of been injured wherever he's went, if he's been out on loan, it's just that worry that you pay that for him and then he'll be knowing our luck, he'd get a long-term injury 5 games into the next season and he's out for the year, and you're going, we've paid 8 million for this guy and he's not able to affect games the way we want him to.
Mm-hmm.
The first 6 months has been brilliant. In fact, he's been missing for the last 4 and he's now out again for another couple of weeks. You're kind of going, is that a negotiation tactic for the club to go, we've given him a good platform for him for 6 months, but he's not been available for a full year. So, that's definitely a conversation that should be getting had in the summer, if not already.
Aye, definitely.
I think he's been unfortunate with the availability, and the main frustration is that he didn't get injured playing for us. He didn't even get injured playing in the Africa Cup of Nations. It was a training exercise he got injured in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think it. I think that's his first injury, his first long-term injury that's ever kept him out. He's still a young guy. So I personally wouldn't be worried moving forward, like injury-wise with him. But it does come down to the finances, I guess.
Well, I'm looking at his appearances just now. Last season for Rangers, when he was on loan there, he made 37 appearances. I thought it was an awful lot worse than that. And then it's Stoke. I'm just going to get that up because he was there in his first season at Brighton. He went on loan. He only made 15 appearances, so his injury record isn't actually as bad as I thought it was. I thought he only made a few appearances for Stoke. I think he was pretty knackered with injuries that season, and obviously at Rangers last season as well. If it's the right price, I sign him. So I do. Oscar Cortez, Stu, come to you on that one first. Hit or a miss? Bear in mind what you says about Danilo.
I know.
Can you contradict yourself?
I'm going to, though. I'm going to say hit. See when we signed him, sorry, before we go, see when we signed him off the back of playing 24 minutes of first team league football and he had 2 goals and 2 assists, and he came here and did the same, then got injured. I think there's so much. I'm so contradicting myself, right? I think there's like goals in him, assists in him, pace, running with players, but I would say I like him. I'd say he's a hit. I'm contradicting myself, but sorry, Bob, on you.
Poor Danilo.
I'm probably going to contradict myself after saying what I said about Danilo, but I'm going to say miss. It's so, and again, it's the same reasons as Stu. I think you look at it and go, he hadn't played a lot for Lons before he came. Is it Lons? I'm sure it was Lons before he came. In it's a worry that he flattered to deceive in those games. He didn't play a lot in the league. It was a couple of cup games and a couple of league games. Again, no prolonged, stay in the first team. And I think if it was me, if I was Coppin and Clement, I'd be, probably arguing that we get him in for a full season on loan before we pay anything for him in the summer. I think we've just not seen it. We've just not seen enough of him to be able to say, he's what we've missed on the wing since the Candyman. all those years ago. Funny enough, I seen a montage of these clips the other day on social media, and I just thought, God, if we had him in his prime, he would have been electric. But for me, Cortez at the moment is a miss. I think we need to see more of him.
He's a hit for me purely based on the fact of just showing how we can unearth these gems abroad. Just for kind of raising his awareness to me. I think he's a really, really good ball carrier. He's a threat. He's a goal threat. Can pick a pass. It reminds me of Kent when Kent first signed, that kind of bust he's got. But now he's got a hamstring injury, and it's a really, really bad one. He's had to have an operation on it. It does make you...
don't know if you got the detail. Did we pay for the surgery?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I've not got a clue.
If we paid for the surgery, miss. Right.
I think coming back in, sorry Scott, just on that, like, again, what you touched on at the kind of top of the pod about the player training model. I think and again, we could play a separate pod on that, but player training model would be it, because again, we've brought him in on loan. He's looked exciting. If we do end up signing him in the summer, if he plays, maybe a year to 18 months, you could sell him on for a good amount of profit. I know we'll probably come on to him in a minute, but same with Diomande. The fact he's come in on loan, if we're paying a fee for him in the summer, a year or two out of him playing the same way he's played the last 6 months, that player training model really does kick into gear in a very, very positive way for the club.
Right, that brings us on to Diomande. He's the last one. He's a hit for me. Makes a massive difference to that midfield, the way he transitions the ball forward, the way he moves it. I feel sorry for him having to play with Lindstrom just now. I noticed Lindstrom on Sunday, Diomande get the ball, done a wee passing move type thing, and Lindstrom passed the ball to Borna, and I'm like, this guy's trying to progress us up the park. He's trying to stop us doing all the stuff we did under Beale, and Lindstrom's just there like, no, get to Borna, be safe. Diamande's a hit for me. Stu, what about you?
Definitely hit for me, man. I think it's definitely hit for me. It's kind of weird, the kind of circumstances come in. Never in my life have I heard of a loan move with an obligation to buy. But that's purely because kind of Beale cleared out the war chest in that transfer window. So we are where we find ourselves financially in terms of trying to acquire players. Just that ball in the last game, that not since like Devo, if we had players cutting the opposition team over with this long through ball, he's got the vision for it and stuff like that. Absolute hit for me, man. He's a goal threat as well. Like you're saying, he wants to move forward. He's a young guy, he's plenty of potential, plenty to sell on. Aye, he's a good signing, absolute hit.
I think he's supposed to be what Cifuentes was meant to be. When Beale says he's going to take us to the next level, I think Diomande could potentially do that for us. He could have that impact. Bob, what about you?
I can't disagree. He's a hit for me. I think just when you were talking about it there, obviously Stu mentioned Devo, and obviously the fact that we're now, Devo's had to retire through injury, but I'd maybe make a point, obviously you guys can come back at me if you think I'm absolutely stinking with this opinion, but do you think Diomande could be the heir apparent to an old school Barry Ferguson? He's that type of player in the middle of the park that takes the ball. He looks as if he could take a game by a scruff of the neck, and as you said, progresses forward. Because that to me is what we've missed through Devo's injury. With obviously, I know Devo was coming to the end of his career, but with that kind of presence, he seems to get the technicality and the physicality that if he gets a good, a full pre-season again. I know we said about Dessers and Danilo, but full pre-season, gets a full run of I say a full season, a full run of games. Do you think he could be that type of player for us, that he ends up being maybe not captain, but he ends up becoming that type of player for us that A, makes us a lot of money, but B, helps us win a lot more silverware in the next year or two?
Absolutely, Bob. I think you're right. I think he's definitely Definitely, he's got all the attributes. You could build whatever the midfield's going to look like next season around him. Definitely.
You could build a team around him. He's definitely that type of player. In terms of Ferguson comparison, though, it's a wee bit off for me. Ferguson had that kind of presence in the middle of the park, that kind of aura.
Yeah.
And I don't think Diomande has that. I think Diomande needs to bulk up a wee bit. He definitely needs. Sure. He's built at the side of a fiver, same as Ross McCausland. Ross McCausland needs to get in the gym too. But listen here. But we've not all got a gym at work,
sorry.
So it's like, I don't know what I want to see him imposing himself more on matches, but for what I've seen, he's really, really good and come on, can really, really do something with him this summer. Just a quick point before we wrap up. What's still come to you on this first? We've spoken about this in the pub loads of times, in terms of having a core of Scottish or British based players. My concern is with the Cortez and Diomande signing and Silva is that we're going to dip into these markets more and more, which is good. It's great for a transfer model. It means you can progress. As you're progressing the players, you're progressing the signings, you're getting more sellable assets on the squad, essentially. But my concern is, me and you have been best pals right back to Paul Le Guen era. Do you know what I mean? When you get your likes of Libor Sionko, Carol Svensson, Lino Lutizzi, but to name a few. Are you concerned that could potentially happen again?
It is kind of going that way or looking like that. We're struggling for like Scottish names in the team, and I think some players are benefiting from that. I think it's probably the only reason John McLaughlin's still in the books.
Right.
Ryan Jack seems to be untouchable in terms of getting rid of him, even though he's unavailable for his. Ross McCausland probably goes towards that as well. We are struggling for a Scottish contingent, and I don't really know what the answer is to that, to be honest. You came at me first, and I'm going to say it's a worry. It's something we need to kind of look at.
Bob, what about you? Your thoughts on
it? To me, it maybe touches back on what we discussed a bit with Butland and that kind of, the English snobbery. Maybe, Rangers and Celtic have got a kind of snobbery towards the rest of the SPFL. The fact that we've already had a discussion about Scotty through the article that I wrote. And I didn't even touch on really the Scottish players. But for me, when you look around the league at the moment, and I know, again, could have a separate pod on this entirely, but you look at like we missed it. Apparently, I missed it in Lewis Ferguson, who's went on to do a great job in Italy. We should really be trying to get in to get these players first. Again, definitely. I know we've talked to likes of Barron, but we've had multiple discussions on that. Even likes of Lennon Miller, Bailey Rice from the youth team. David Watson from Kilmarnock. For me, you're looking again, even at other teams. Maybe not talked about as much, but like Luke McCowan from Dundee seemed a really good midfielder. In the last couple of games against Old Firm, he's done really well. And I think Coppin needs to keep that in mind. Don't get me wrong, I think that the model that we went down in January was a good one. But I think you've got to find that balance between unearthing gems in Europe and afar. Not maybe Europe and worldwide, but you've also got to look at the players that we've got in the Scottish League or in the UK and Britain. They're going to be able to help us with the UEFA, homegrown talent, homegrown players quota, as well as being sellable assets in the future. Again, case in point, we've discussed, again, talked about it so much before, but Barron as a free transfer from Aberdeen would be an absolute no-brainer coming in. Again, if he plays well for a year or two, kick in the player training model again, let him go and sign for another team, whether it's down south in the Championship or EPL, depending on how well he does, or he goes to Italy, or he goes to Spain, or goes to Germany or Belgium or whatever. But I think it's Cotman's got a lot to do in the summer, and also try to find that balance. I think we've went too long, kind of turning our noses up to go, he's not Rangers class, he's not Rangers quality, he's not getting Rangers standards. Well, how are you going to know unless you sign him and I'll let him attempt to bring himself up again? They're only as good as the players around them. Again, case in point, you said with Shankland, the whole, although he's top scorer of Hearts, if he'd come to Rangers, who knows how many goals he would have scored this season, even from January onwards. Again, and it would have been a homegrown player.
Aye, definitely. I think we'd be top of the league if Shankland was here, if I'm being honest. But that's just one man's opinion. Right, anyway, lads, we'll wrap up there.
Before we go, I need to retcon something I said there. I do realise that now that Ross McCausland is actually Northern Irish. He's just out of our youth academy, so he's not a Scottish player. Before MD destroys me in the comments of that.
Oh, you won't get destroyed in the comments tonight. There's no doubt about it.
I know, mate.
Right, Bob, thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries, pal.
Thanks for having us.
Stu, pod debut, mate. Solid. Bringing an idea on board, roasting each other. That's what it's all about.
Pub chat, love
it. Right, everybody. We've got the.
Hey, gentlemen.
What's that?
That's actually all right, gentlemen.
Wait, I need to wrap up first. So, right, everybody will be back on Friday night. We've got a charity stream that's running for 4 o'clock through till 10. We've got Eliza Rory Hamilton coming on that. Got some really, really good names lined up. I think there's somebody for Heart and Hand coming on. I think Adam Thornton's coming on as well. Scott Carney for Club at 22. Rangers Rabble are sending somebody over, I think, as well. Kai's doing a marathon for Rangers Charity Foundation. The link will be there on Friday night if you want to donate. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on Friday.